Welcome to a very special episode of the Trip Sitting Podcast because this is going to be a solo episode. Just me. So I was in Costa Rica for about 2 weeks. Just got back last week and decided to make this episode to recap the trip. But even more so than that, I really want to dive deep into my second experience meeting Mother Ayahuasca, which was a very, very special experience that for anybody that's curious about ayahuasca and wants to know more about what it's like, I'll give you some insights into some general stuff and then also talk specifically about what happened to me. Now, before we officially get started, make sure you're following Trip Sitting. I actually just changed my Instagram handle. So now the new handle is at _ trip sitting _ so that is the new handle to find me at. Make sure you are following the podcast wherever you're listening to this on. And then also know that this episode is sponsored by Mushmore. Mushmore unlocks its members' full potential through the power of microdosing. And they've got a kick-ass community to help you get started and support you on your journey. So be sure to check out Mushmore. Join the Telegram channel at the link in the footnotes of this podcast. So that's all I got. So let's get into it. So first thing I want to talk about is my voice sounds a little bit weird right now. And that's because right when I got back from Costa Rica, my seasonal allergies just started absolutely kicking my ass. And I never, ever used to get seasonal allergies. It wasn't until I moved to Denver last year that it was the first time that I really experienced them. And just kind of forgot. And it was right around this time too that I got sick and I started getting sick again. And when I got back, and again, I'm just not prepared for this. It's not something I ever had to deal with. So I posted a video on Instagram about this, but it's funny the integration now, which is the process that I'm in, to go from being the just absolute highest that I have ever been, like feeling on top of the world and so good and amazing, and then coming back to reality and immediately like getting sick and having to, start dealing with like bullshit and things like that again. And like, that is the integration process, is when things are not going so well and I am not flying high, how can I take those lessons that I got from the medicine and apply them to my life in order to like stay grounded and continue to cultivate those incredible teachings and the incredible wisdom of the medicine. I will be talking more about the ayahuasca shortly, but let's just start with what I was doing in Costa Rica to begin with. So, one, I needed a vacation, and two, my partner and I, we both wanted to go on this, and we had talked about it. And in case you guys don't know, my day job, I work with retreat centers to help people that are interested in going on retreats, like giving them a path to go to the retreat. So like I'm a guardian of those spaces. I also call myself like a discovery guide, because I'm basically just finding out, do you actually want to come to this space, and if so, how do we make sure that it's going to be safe for you, and that this is actually something that you're prepared for, and that you're ready to make this the experience that you want to, and not necessarily just getting high in a jungle, which there's nothing wrong with, by the way. It's just that's not the experience that the retreat centers that I work with, it's not what we offer. So one of the retreat centers I work with is Posada Natura in Costa Rica. So the first stop, we went to Posada Natura to stay there for 3 nights. There wasn't a retreat going on or anything. We were just staying there to check out the space and doing stuff there. And it was phenomenal. Like, it is a beautiful, like pristine space, and like just energetically, it's really cool. Like, it is in the rainforest. It's directly on the River Naranjo. So you can, like access the river just directly from the center, just, with some steps. It's got this like really, really amazing yoga / dance floor that's on this balcony overlooking the river. The whole space is wide open. There's the temple. If you walk a little bit, into some trees and shit, there's the temple that's there, and then it's got like 4 cabinas that are going to be on the property, as well as like one private area that's like a private suite. It's definitely rustic, like it's, it's not um, like there's no air conditioning or anything like that, as most places in Costa Rica do not have air conditioning, by the way. But it's really, really nice. Like it was comfortable. It was cozy. It was definitely hot and humid. Like when we got off the plane, we were just hit with a wall of just air that we had to walk through that we're not used to doing, given the fact that we live in Colorado. But yeah, beautiful space. Highly recommend. Would check it out. And it's just nice to now like actually have that personal experience with that space and know where it is that I'm truly sending people. I can only hear other ones of my associates talk about it so much, but to experience it myself was very, very special. So like while we were there, I was still working a little bit, and we went to a waterfall. And also too, something I didn't mention is, so I took a GoPro with me. Shout out to my friend Caden of Wisdom Peak Wellness Collective, or Wisdom Peak Healing Collective, one of those. He gave me a GoPro, just gifted it to me because he had an extra one, and he knew that this was something that I wanted to start using. And so I filmed pretty much the entire trip, and I'm in the process now of like cutting up different videos of the different things that we did. And I think I might make like a whole giant recap video. So if you're not following me on YouTube, definitely be sure to check me out there, because that's where I'm going to be posting those videos. And I actually made the first one yesterday, which should be posted soon. But either way, so I have GoPro footage of like the entire trip and my thoughts as I was going through these experiences versus now me just reflecting on them. So either way, Posada was dope. The next place we went was this center called Casa Nautica, and one of my associates knew the guy who owns Casa Nautica, hooked me up with him, and then so we were able to stay at his center, which was in Dominicalito. By the way, Posada Natura is just outside of Capos, which is near Manuel Antonio. Beautiful area. Manuel Antonio is absolutely dope. We went to this place, Emilio's Cafe, 3 times while we were there. Yeah, beautiful area, beautiful beaches. But back to Casa Nautica, Dominicalito. So we went there. John is an amazing person. I have truly like a special person to me now. The bond that we were able to create in such a short amount of time. But while we were there, so the first night we were there, my partner and I were having this discussion at night where I was just going through a lot of emotions. Like throughout the trip, it was just bringing up a lot of emotions in me. And I was telling her that I really feel this calling to sit with medicine again. I'd only had that one experience. It was 3 ceremonies back in Peru in September 2022. And that's what really kickstarted my life and got me here now. But I was now in Costa Rica, and I was, feeling almost as if I had imposter syndrome, that, I'm guiding people and like leading them to this medicine, but I feel like I don't have as personal of an experience with it that I want to at this point. And so I was just like, I need to sit with medicine. Like this needs to be a priority. We were thinking about maybe after the trip, I was going to try to go to Peru, because I know some people over there, and sit with them. But we talked the first night we were at Casa Nautica, and made the, basically just came to the conclusion like, okay, we're going to try to make this a priority, that I can go somewhere and take the time that I need to go sit with medicine. The very next fucking morning, we're talking with John, and we don't bring up this conversation at all. But John says to us, "Hey, the group that I sit with and help out, they have a couple extra spots, I think, for the ceremony that's happening on Monday and Tuesday, which was in like 3 and 4 days from that day. I could get you in contact with the person who's in charge of it if you guys want to come and sit with us." And I was, me and my partner just looked at each other like, yeah, for sure. Get us in contact. And I was just kind of one of those situations that it's very apparent to me that the universe put this opportunity directly into my lap. and I'm very, very grateful for it. Also, too, like it was, I mean, just a great group of people, and it just felt so organic, and it felt very right, to just go into the experience this way without even actually having done all of the preparation that I did last time, and just kind of doing it on a whim. So yeah, so we agreed to do that. My partner's never sat with medicine either, and she was not thinking that ayahuasca was something she was going to do anytime soon. And so the fact that it was presented to her in this way made her, I think, a little bit more receptive to it. And I was actually initially being like, hey, listen, we don't have to do this. Like, you don't have to do this. I can go do this. We can figure this out. And she was actually the one that ended up pushing me a little bit, and making it feel more okay for me to have this experience and do it. And she really wanted to do it herself. So we committed to doing that. And the style of ceremony that we were doing is it's called Santo Daime. So Santo Daime is Brazilian. It's this actually religion that started, I guess, in like the early 1900s. This is based on what John was telling me. I might be completely butchering this, by the way, so do not take my word on this. But typically, it's done with like basically like you're like sitting in chairs, and you're with a whole group, and you're all just singing these songs the entire time. Give me a sec. Oh, I need some water. Being sick and trying to do a podcast is not always the easiest thing. So Santo Daime style. This, however, was not traditional Santo Daime. This was more of like a shamanic Santo Daime mixture. So there were the people that were leading. The head of the group was this guy, Kevin. And he was just incredible. But they have instruments that they're playing, there's songs that they're singing, and there's actually a big fire that's in the middle of the temple. So it's lit up. You could see everybody, which my experience in Peru, which was Shipibo style, it was very dark. There weren't even any instruments that they were playing. They were just singing the whole time. And different people would come in and sing, and sometimes they'd sing together, but no instruments, and you couldn't really see anything. You couldn't see the people around you. And it was like a very much, it's designed to make you go inward. This one is still designed to make you go inward, but there's a little bit more of that community feel to it as well. And that outward experience. You're still not talking to the people that are around you. Like, everyone's still on their mat, but you can get up, you could go outside. They had a fire outside as well, so you could leave the temple and go wander off to that fire and be by yourself if you needed to. And then it's important that everybody opens the ceremony together and closes the ceremony together. So the first ceremony for me, I'm just going to talk about my experience now, if I can get through this without coughing like a motherfucker. So my personal experience the first night, we all, like went up to the altar. We took the first cup. We go back down to our mats. I think it was pretty silent for the most part. Towards the beginning, we were just sitting in silence, and then they start singing some or playing some instruments or something like that. But we're just waiting for the medicine to come on. And I not immediately, but like over time, as I feel the medicine coming on, I start feeling like this knot in my stomach. And if you know anything about my previous experience, this knot in my stomach is a recurring theme for my ayahuasca experiences. So I was used to it. And I knew that all I had to do was just let it be and get curious about it and just allow the body to do what it needs to do and feel what it needs to feel. So not judging this knot as like a bad thing that I need to get rid of, but just getting curious about why it's there. So I felt it just, changing. I felt different things within my body, feeling like a slight buzz from the ayahuasca, nothing too heavy. But it was feeling like, I definitely knew I was going to need to purge. I just knew it wasn't quite there yet. And I was feeling just like a little bit more buzzed in this kind of like drunken ayahuasca state. And so I went out of the temple onto like the land that was outside to go try to purge. I wanted to just purge back onto the land. And I just wasn't ready. It still wasn't my time. Like I got down on all fours to prepare myself and I started coughing and it felt like something was there, but no avail. So I went back inside, sat back down on the mat and just laid down and was just letting the energy move through me. I was kind of like I was moving back to all fours. I went to like cat cow at one point, doing like yoga poses and child's pose, and then back to lying down on my back. Basically, just feeling like this knot and this kind of tension in my body, and trying to allow my body to work through it all. And there were points where I'd be doing that, and I'd start just kind of crying a little bit. And it was not directed towards anything specific, just tears that my body needed to let out. And finally it built up to the point where I needed to purge. And so I had my little bucket in front of me. So I threw up and purged into the bucket. And then after that was when like the experience like really kind of kicked into high gear. By the way, too, also I forgot to mention, once I came in, when I was outside that first time, they started serving the second cup. So I took the second cup and then was on my mat, and that's when all of that started. So I purged, and then I laid back down and I started just crying like these like deep tears, like from deep within me, that was that needed to be let out. And at the time I was thinking of my dad for whatever reason. That's just where the medicine took me and where it felt like those tears were coming from, and essentially feeling his pain. And my dad has been disabled since I was a child, and has had just a lot of issues with pain. And so I was like just feeling really like empathetic towards him, and if you've heard me talk before, and a lot of the traumas that I dealt with had to do from my dad, and some of the way that he treated my brother and I wasn't always the greatest in my opinion. He never physically abused us, by the way. Like it was never like that. It was just like emotionally, sometimes it didn't feel like I was very safe when I was with him, and I was very closed off and trying to be this version that I thought he wanted me to be. And so either way, now we're here. I'm crying these deep tears towards him and just feeling very, very grateful and very thankful, and seeing things from his perspective of being a man that was in so much pain and still just trying his best to be a father and be there. Like, I knew he always loved us, and he still loves us very much. He was a hurt individual himself, and that also stems from his childhood and some of the things that happened to him and trauma that he's gone through. And the disability is something on top of that, that just makes the pain worse and worse. And so I saw things from his perspective and had a lot of gratitude towards him, and just thought about how amazing it would be for him to be able to try to heal himself. But it's not something I'm going to force upon anyone. This is certainly not work that everybody can do, but just being grateful for who he is and what he's done, and just seeing him as a person, not just as like my dad who should be this or should be that. He's just a person who's trying his best, and I'm very, very grateful for that. And so those were some very deep tears. And by the way, if you're watching this, you'll see I have my journal in front of me just to remember like everything that happened. And so after that, I I looked up and I saw my partner, and she was actually up sitting by the fire. I was just sitting there like watching her. And she's the first long-term relationship I've ever been in. And man, I was overcome with gratitude and joy. And I was just watching her like in her essence. And it was just so beautiful. And like, I couldn't believe that I had this individual and we had built this very strong connection and this strong love this quickly. And I mean, it's everything that I've ever wanted and more. And that's not to say it's perfect, because nothing ever is. You know, we go through things and are there for each other. But like, you know, I just have a very deep connection with her. And the fact that she was willing to have this experience with me, I think knowing how important ayahuasca has been in my life, and that she wanted to actually be there and was the one that made me feel better about it, just meant so much to me. And so I was very grateful for her. And then I started thinking about my life at this point and how it had led me here. And I think lately I've been feeling just, I don't know, just not very aligned necessarily with the work. Like thinking, is this work at the retreat center is actually what I want to be doing? Like, is this podcast still something I want to be doing? I even actually applied to get like a corporate job just because I saw an opening for something that looked interesting the other day. Thinking like, fuck, like, do I want to go back to the corporate world? Because I don't make a stable income right now. And that's not always the easiest thing. Especially after being very used to that. And so I think that's been getting to me lately. Like, fuck, is this really worth it if I can't make like the stable income? And when I was in the ayahuasca ceremony, I was just thinking it gave me a lot of reassurance that like I have done everything that I can do, and I am doing everything that I can do, and everything is happening exactly as it is supposed to since my first experience with ayahuasca. Like, I fucking changed everything about my life. At that point, I moved to a different city. I stopped working in tech. Like, I changed jobs. I started just meeting a lot of people through the podcast. That's when I started the podcast. And that has led me to make these connections, to allow me to be in these positions to help guide others to this medicine. And the medicine showed me that, like, yes, that is what I want to do. Like, because it is so impactful to me, I want to help other people get to this incredible medicine in a safe container with people that know what the fuck they're doing. Because that is more important than the medicine itself, is being around trustworthy people that you can surrender in the presence of in order to allow the medicine to work. And so, yeah, it just showed me like, yeah, like, you're on the right path, man. you're doing it, and you've done it. And this is it. This is truly what I am passionate about, and help me get this great understanding of what it means to be in service of the medicine. Like, not serving myself or serving medicine, but being in service of the medicine, and being in service in general without expecting anything in return. Just being in service, because being in service to people, to things, to a greater power genuinely feels good than trying to serve myself. Just, it feels better than trying to serve myself. And I was just caught up in that feeling of feeling like, okay, this is what it means to be in service. And like, why does that feel so good? And I was just thinking of other aspects of my life in which I veered away from that a little, because that's not a new lesson. That happened the first time that I experienced ayahuasca, was what it means to be in service and expect nothing in return. And so I saw how I veered off about that. Like, hey, like, I want to, I want to make money. Sometimes I can, you know, cross a boundary because I want to make a sale, for example, and showing how that's not the best path, and that's not going to pay me well moving forward. And how maybe certain people that I want to connect with or talk to, the way that I'm going about it is to serve myself. It's not to be in service. And so understanding how, when I make connections with people, how can I really just be in service of that person and expect nothing in return and let things happen organically as they're supposed to. And as long as I am in service from that heart center and doing things from that place, things will happen as they're supposed to happen, which might be that we build a relationship, or might be that nothing fucking happens. And that's okay. Like, I'm fine with either of those things. But yeah, it was a great reminder, and it felt really good. I felt like in that first ceremony, I went through everything. Like, I had the crying, and there were times too where I started laughing, like right after all of that. And I purged during it, and I was feeling gratitude, and like towards the end of the ceremony, I was just laying down in just this deep, like, ocean of gratitude. It felt like just being like, oh my God, I'm so happy that I'm here. Like, this is amazing. Like, what a cool fucking life that I get to live. Like, it truly is. And so, yeah, I was just wrapped up in that. And also during the ceremony, I was definitely watching how they were doing the ceremony and controlling the energy. And oh my God, it was amazing. That was there were people that were telling us, like, when we did get invited and knew that we were going to the ayahuasca ceremony, that had sat with that group before, and they're like, oh, you guys are sitting with the best. Like, you guys are getting one of the greatest experiences you can. And so I did kind of have high expectations, and they blew me away. Any of the expectations I had were so much better. The way that they were able to move the energy of everybody that was in the temple space was next level, through the tempo, through the songs they would choose, through how loud they would be versus how quiet, through the intentional silences. It was really amazing, the energy that they were able to help move everybody through and really take them through this experience. So super grateful for that team of people that were serving medicine. They are doing an incredible job. And yeah, the first ceremony was great. Like, I said the next day even that, like, if the second ceremony is just like that again, like, that's perfect. Like, I mean, I could have left then and been happy. However, second ceremony, I'll just dive right into that, was somehow even more profound. So I think that my first experience with ayahuasca, it was obviously amazing and life-changing, but it was all dealing with, like, traumas and, like, kind of like darker stuff, and, like, really kind of healing myself and getting myself in alignment. This second ceremony showed me, like, just the true power of this medicine and how amazing it can be, and, like, just awe-inspiring. And I realized, like, you have to get through the shit in order to get to that. And that's a good metaphor for life, is, like, in order to feel the highs, you have to go through all of the lows, and you have to feel all of it too. Like, you have to go through this shit in order to get to that. And that's what that second ceremony showed me. I was surrounded by love, gratitude, joy. Towards the end of it, I'll actually talk about. So, like, towards the beginning, it wasn't all just amazing. Towards the beginning, actually, there was I was just kind of sitting there thinking, and, like, again, I kind of had that knot in my stomach again, thinking, like, oh damn, like, do I have to purge? Like, am I gonna have, like, diarrhea? And I was essentially thinking, like, of the shit that is inside me, and having that thought of, like, damn, you got to go through the shit in order to get to the amazing. And I got in this weird thought loop where, like, I was just thinking, like, I am shit. Like, I am a piece of shit. Like, that's what I am at my core. And it was, like, kind of bad. Like, it wasn't a fun exercise thinking myself as, like, a piece of shit. Like, literally, and then also, like, maybe some of my actions are shitty in a way. And rather than try to, like, fight that, I was like, fuck it, let's just go into it. And I was just essentially accepting the fact that I am a piece of shit. Maybe I am a piece of shit. And if I am a piece of shit, like, what about it? And showing that, I can love myself anyways, even if I am a piece of shit. that doesn't mean that I don't deserve love and I don't deserve happiness and I don't deserve things like that's. I'm not giving anybody excuse for being a piece of shit. Like, please don't. Because afterwards, once I went through that whole like acceptance of me being a piece of shit, it was like the medicine's like, no, nah, like you're not a piece of shit. Like I just wanted to show you, like, if you were, could you still love yourself? And it was a fun little exercise to go through, showing that if I am a piece of shit, yes, I can still love myself, and I know that I deserve to love myself, and that's how we get through everything, is by that, having that deep sense of self-love. And for whatever reason, I started thinking of like, I was brought to this really weird, like primitive underworld where it was just dark and spooky, and it felt like there were like just dark spirits emerging. And there was this one little creature that was popping in my head that was this like weird fish like ugly creature. It almost kind of looked like a little like a lingcod if you're a fisher at all. And so I was just imagining this little creature of just like being a little creature and like, not being super aware of it. And again, being like ugly and like undesirable and like primitive. And I was like almost living as if I were this creature. And then again, it came back to the fact that like all the creature really wants to do is still just to be loved. And all of the universe's creatures, all of God's creations, whatever you want to call it, all want love. We can all vibrate on that frequency of love. And it's important to know that every single creature, every single being on this earth can understand the frequency of love. And that's pretty damn beautiful. So after that, that's when I went outside. I went to the fire. I looked out at the stars. They were just incredible. I just felt so much love and gratitude, and was just amazed by this existence and how much of a blessing it truly is. And in case you can't tell, I'm getting a little bit emotional talking about it still, because it's so easy to forget that we get to live these lives. It's not something we have to do. We get to experience all of the joy and the beauty and the love, but we also get to experience the pain and the sadness and the grief and some of the less desirable emotions, and just how much of a blessing it is that we get to experience all of that. The point of being human is not to do anything, change anything about ourselves. It's just to be. It's just to exist. And part of existing as a human is having all of these different experiences. And so we're not supposed to judge them as good or bad, or try to go towards more these experiences over these experiences. We're supposed to feel all of them. It was a great reminder of that. And again, I ended up taking 3 cups that night. And after the 3rd cup, that is truly the highest I've ever been in my life. That's the greatest I've ever felt. It was beyond words. But again, I realized at that moment I had to go through the shit that the medicine made me go through in order for me to get to that high. There's no shortcuts to it. You have to fucking do the work. And I was able to experience that because I did the fucking work. Like I built this shit. I had no guidance. I did it. And I felt very proud of myself for the fact that I have done this. And I don't think I give myself enough credit sometimes for the fact that I've put myself in this position, going against almost everything that anybody told me. Even just by, coming out of the psychedelic closet, like that was a risk. And talking about this so openly, and again, changing my entire life to try to be in service of the medicine. Like I did that shit. And so I got to experience the true power and beauty that Mother Ayahuasca knows is always there. And I got to vibrate at that frequency, and it was something very special. And so now my job is to integrate that and try to remember that feeling every single day. Like that's how I can keep moving on and moving in the right direction and staying in alignment. Like I mentioned at the beginning, it felt like I was a little bit out of alignment with my purpose, and I feel back in alignment again. And there was also this one part of the second ceremony where I was sitting and I was just dreaming of the life I wanted. And I don't think I give myself enough time to dream. Like I don't want to get caught up in the future and all that. Like I want to, I'm all about staying present and all that shit. But it's good to dream. It's nice to dream, to visualize, figure out the life that you want, but without getting attached to it. And that's the key, is like, if you dream of something and then you're now like, oh shit, this is it, I need to work to make this happen exactly as it was in my dream, like that's where you can get caught up. It's good to dream and then be open to new things. But I visualized my life being able to actually like serve medicine. Like I'd love to actually be running my own retreat center one day. But I also know that like I'm not ready to do that right now. I had to visualize all of the work and all of the things that I would need to learn in order to get there. And I dreamed this entire life and how beautiful it would be. And there would be times where I'd be like, okay, like I'm done with this. I want to stop dreaming. And the medicine would guide me back and like, no, you need to sit here and fucking dream and fucking be happy and think about it. And yeah, it was great. I was just sitting there thinking about how beautiful of a life that would be if I were able to create it, and how I want to start moving in that direction. But again, be open to different things that might come my way. And so overall, again, the experience was absolutely amazing. I fucking love this medicine so much. I connect with ayahuasca on a very deep spiritual level, and I want to start learning more about it. Like this is my medicine, at least right now. This is something that I definitely want to start learning about and being in service of. And so if anyone's ever interested in learning more about ayahuasca or experiencing this as well, at any of the retreat centers that I work for, obviously I'm happy to have those discussions. So please reach out to me. But yeah, that's my purpose at the moment, is to continue to educate people about these medicines and help people that do want to experience that, help guide them to be able to have that experience in a good container. And I'm doing it. I'm fucking doing it, and I'm happy about it. And yeah, I'm very grateful to be able to do this, and I feel so good and surrounded by so much love. And again, now is the integration. I want to stay in this feeling. And once I'm back at home, and again, friends are doing things, concerts are happening, I'm getting sick, I've got other trips I need to go on, it's hard to remember this sometimes. So I need to make sure that I'm taking that time for myself to stay in this energy. Remember that everything is already perfect. I've already done everything that I need to do. I am love. I am light. I am the universe. The entire universe lives within me. I'm part of the earth. I like putting my hands, my feet in the earth, feeling it. The power of the universe. And yeah, life is such a blessing. So thank you everybody for joining me on this journey and listening to this. This ended up being a little bit longer than I originally thought it would. So if you stuck with me this long, I appreciate you. And I am very excited to just share more about my journey and my experiences and all of the people that I meet and the conversations I get to have. It is so amazing. I love you all so much. Thank you.